Let me tell you something you probably won't believe. Helping your neighbors can land you in more trouble than you ever thought possible, especially when you've got a neighbor like Patricia Whitmore running the show. I learned that the hard way. My name's Vincent Forrester. For 15 years, I've run a small snowplow business just outside Boulder, Colorado. Nothing glamorous, just me, my beat-up Chevy, and a list of clients who depend on me when winter turns their driveways into miniature Arctic tundras. I bought my 2-acre slice of Meadowbrook Lane back in 2011. Back then it was all quiet old-timers who'd been around since disco was still cool, folks who knew every squirrel by name. We all pitched in when the weather went sideways. The HOA, sure, technically it existed, but Mr. Henderson, who ran it, barely remembered to collect dues, much less enforce rules. I'm talking about a guy who thought CC&R stood for cookies, coffee, and rum. We were mountain people, rules bent as easily as the pines in a blizzard. That's just how it worked. Then Mr. Henderson passed, and everything flipped upside down. Enter Patricia, 52, fresh off a divorce, flush with cash, and looking for a project. She bought the biggest house on the hill, and within 6 months was HOA president. Not because people loved her ideas, most folks didn't even bother showing up to vote. Me, I was plowing driveways up in Wyoming that week. Mistake number 1. At first it was just annoyances. Holiday lights needed to come down by New Year's. Lawns had to be mowed, just so. Fine, whatever, I grumbled like everyone else, but kept my head down. But year 2, she started targeting vehicles. Commercial trucks like my old plow weren't allowed overnight. I started parking it behind my garage out of sight. Problem solved, until the snow really hit that December. You ever seen 28 inches fall in 36 hours? My phone nearly melted from the calls. Old folks needing help driveways to clear, people trying to get to medical appointments. I was out for 3 days straight, orange lights flashing before sunrise, my truck rattling down every block. And that's when the note started. First note was polite almost. Mr. Forrester, please be advised commercial vehicles require board approval. I barely read it, crumpled it up, and got back to work. Mrs. Chen needed to get to dialysis, and I wasn't about to stop for paperwork. The second note was a lot less friendly. Final warning. Unauthorized commercial activity will result in fines and legal action. That one landed on my windshield right after I'd plowed the street so the mail truck could squeeze through. The irony wasn't lost on me. So I went to the next HOA meeting. Patricia's living room, which looked like a furniture store, married a ski lodge with a gas fireplace big enough to roast a pig. Maybe a dozen people showed up, most of them newer residents. Patricia read the agenda like she was chairing the UN agenda item, 7 unauthorized commercial vehicle operation. She looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Forrester, you've been observed conducting business without authorization. I was still in my muddy boots. Patricia, I live here. I'm driving on public roads the county maintains, not the HOA. She smiled, one of those tight, cold smiles. Actually, Mr. Forrester, according to our updated bylaws, the HOA can regulate commercial vehicle traffic that creates excessive noise pollution or infrastructure damage. Your truck qualifies on all 3 counts. She offered me a commercial activity permit, $500 a month, plus a $2,000 deposit for potential road damage. You could feel the room freeze. Even her supporters were shifting in their seats. That's extortion, I said. She called it the cost of doing business in a quality community. She said if she saw my truck again, I'd be fined $100 each time, and they'd put a lien on my property if I didn't pay. I looked around for backup. The Robinsons stared at their phones. Only old Tom Webster spoke up. Vince helps people. But Patricia had an answer for everything. Rules apply to everyone. I left without another word. There's no point arguing with someone who loves rules more than people. Back home, I stared at my bills. Legal insurance, truck maintenance. Margins were tight. $6,000 a year to Patricia's quality community fund would drown me. But the snow didn't care about my problems, and the next morning I was back in the truck heading toward Mrs. Chen's house. That's when I saw Patricia's Mercedes blocking the road hazard lights, blinking, phone raised, ready to film. You're blocking the road, Patricia. And you're operating a commercial vehicle in violation of HOA regulations, she said. You'll be fined $100 if you proceed. Mrs. Chen has a medical appointment. She needs her driveway cleared. She can hire a different service. Or fill out a hardship exemption form which the board will review in March. It was January. I sat there, hands gripping the wheel. I wanted to push past or do my job, but I'd seen the stories, people who lost their homes to HOA fines. Patricia could outlawyer me any day. I turned around and drove home. By the end of that week, I'd lost 6 clients. Mrs. Chen cried on the phone but told me not to risk getting in trouble. Patricia's version spread at her book club was that she'd heroically shut me down to protect the neighborhood. I focused on clients outside the HOA and tried to forget the folks trapped behind snowdrifts. Then came the big one. A monster storm swept down from Canada 3 to 5 feet. In 2 days, drifts taller than my truck. I was working 18-hour days for clients outside the HOA, barely sleeping. Wednesday morning, Pine Ridge was buried. No way in, no way out. Thursday, I got a call from the school district. Our driver can't access Meadowbrook Lane roads, haven't been cleared, 18 kids can't get to school. I told them to call the county. The county only plows the main roads. Your HOA is responsible for the side streets. They'd been trying Patricia since 5 a.m. No answer. I almost laughed. Calls kept coming, neighbors, clients, even the county. But nobody could help. Private roads, private dispute, the dispatcher told me. By noon, people weren't asking for help. They were demanding to know why the streets weren't plowed. Patricia had told everyone snow removal was handled. She'd been collecting special assessment fees all winter. The problem? She'd driven off the only person willing to do the work. Tom Webster called desperate. Nobody can get out. Medical supplies can't get in. Patricia won't answer the door. Vince, you have to help. I argued with myself for an hour. It wasn't my fault, but people were suffering. Mrs. Chen needed meds, kids couldn't get to school, old folks needed oxygen. Eventually, I grabbed my keys and started the truck. It took 3 passes just to clear a path wide enough for the school bus. People waved from their porches. Some tried to hand me cash, but I refused. This wasn't about money anymore. As I was finishing, Patricia's Mercedes screeched up behind me, horn blaring, phone in hand, recording. "You're in violation of HOA regulations," she shrieked. "You're going to be fined for every street you clear." "Send me the bill," I said. "Where's the snow removal service you promised? Where's the money everyone paid?" She sputtered, red-faced. "That's none of your business. You made it my business when you banned me from working and collected fees for services you never delivered." She called 911 on me, standing in the middle of the street. The sheriff's deputy showed up 40 minutes later, looking both tired and amused. "You Vincent Forrester?" "That's me." "She says you're violating HOA rules." "You know I can't enforce HOA stuff, right? That's civil. And these are county roads, so trespassing doesn't apply." He gave me a wink. "Unofficially, thanks for helping. Officially, don't antagonize angry HOA ladies, okay?" He left. Patricia looked like she might explode. The bus got through that day. Medical supplies delivered. By nightfall, the world was right again almost. Then the fines started showing up, certified mail, $300 for January 15th, $300 for the next storm, late fees, a lien notice. I talked to a lawyer, learned the HOA might actually have a legal leg to stand on, but fighting it would take thousands of dollars and years in court. In the meantime, the fines would just pile up. I was trapped. So I stopped. More snow came. Parents had to drag their kids half a mile through snow just to reach the school bus. Medical services started refusing Pine Ridge calls. Property values started to slide. Then after a late spring blizzard, while Patricia was posting margarita pics from Cabo, people started asking where their money went. Over $10,000 collected for snow removal and no service. Tom Webster pushed for a financial audit. Patricia refused, then stormed out of the meeting. Tom got a petition together. 35 households demanded the books. Patricia scheduled a meeting, promised to bring records, and then disappeared. Turns out she'd drained $47,000 from the HOA, vanished to Phoenix, and left us all holding the shovel. She was arrested 3 weeks later, charged with theft, embezzlement, and fraud. Turns out when you steal over $20,000, that's a felony in Colorado. 4 to 12 years in prison. I testified at her hearing, explained how she'd destroyed my business, endangered neighbors, and left people stranded. The judge wasn't impressed with her excuses. She got 6 years, a $47,000 restitution order, and a permanent ban from serving on any HOA board in the state. The HOA dissolved. Nobody wanted it anymore. The streets went back to county maintenance, less frequent plowing, sure, but at least nobody was lining their pockets. My old clients returned, most of them apologizing for not speaking up. Mrs. Chen cried happy tears when I cleared her driveway that first November snow. Tom Webster threw a barbecue in July, no HOA, just neighbors. Someone joked about electing me president. I said no thank you very much. I never got the money Patricia stole. The HOA used it to pay off debt. Whatever was left got divided up. My share, $300. I bought Mrs. Chen a new snowblower with it. She passed away last spring peacefully at 92. Her daughter called to thank me for giving her independence in her final years. That meant more than any payout. 2 years after everything I saw Patricia in bolder hair, gray face, harder working retail. She stopped me. I owe you and everyone an apology. I thought I was making things better. I was just trying to control everything because I couldn't control my own life. She looked so different. Small, tired human. I'm sorry, Vince. I told her it was worth something. Not enough to erase the past, but enough to show people can change or at least admit when they're wrong. She moved away, tried to start over. Me? I'm still here, still plowing, still helping. I know every street, every neighbor who needs extra help. I do it because I want to, not because anyone tells me to. The difference between me and Patricia, she wanted control. I want community. Funny, in the end, Pine Ridge became a better place after the HOA collapsed. Property values bounced back once the little tyrant was gone. New families moved in happy to avoid the headache of arbitrary rules and power-hungry board members. We became what a neighborhood should be, a collection of people who help because they care, not because someone's holding a clipboard over their head. I learned a lot through all this. HOAs in the wrong hands can become weapons. Rules matter less than results, and sometimes the only way to fight petty tyranny is to let it collapse under its own weight. Real community is built on trust and neighborly help, not regulations and threats. That's the moral, if you want one. Sometimes I wonder if I should have just paid Patricia. Would she have kept stealing, just quieter? Would anyone have found out? The truth is, when you enable a tyrant, they just get bolder. Standing up forced her hand, forced the truth into the open. It wasn't comfortable and people suffered, but Pine Ridge is healthier for it now. People ask if I'm a hero. I'm not. I just did what made sense. Help people, don't steal. Don't control what isn't yours. Simple rules, but some folks never learn them. We've got new families in those empty houses now, good people relieved. There's no HOA, no more arbitrary fines, no more power games. We help each other. We talk to each other. That's what community means to me. So when the next storm rolls in, I'll be out there, orange lights spinning at 4:30 a.m., clearing a path for whoever needs it. No HOA required, no permission needed. Just a man with a truck doing what needs to be done. That's the way it should be. Now, I've got to ask you, where's the line? Should neighbors ever have the right to control each other? Or does power always corrupt, even in the smallest ways? Is it ever justified to fight back, even when it means making things uncomfortable for everyone? I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment, share your story, or tell me if you think I was right or wrong. Because if there's one thing I know, it's that real justice starts with good people refusing to play along with bad systems.